It's 5 o'clock on Utah's Afternoon News. I'm Scott Seeger.
And I'm Maria Shaleo.
KSL's top story on the 5 o'clock report. Burglars went on a tear during the Park City Arts Festival, ripping off local artists who were peddling their wares. Now police need help figuring out who's responsible. KSL News Radio's Paul Nelson is live with the story. Paul?
And Scott, a half dozen artists at the Park City Festival are counting their losses after police say their booths were broken into and pieces of their art were either damaged or stolen. An $8,300 marble statue was damaged, 2 high-end coats, 2 prints of paintings were also taken. Park City Police Captain Rick Ryan says police saw a man running away with some artwork.
We believe that he grabbed those prints and was interrupted and decided it was best to leave the prints, that it wasn't worth getting caught over.
But Ryan says the most expensive items taken were 2 hard hand-carved wood chairs. One is described as having light and dark wood interlaced with leg holes cut out of the seat. The artist says he has not sold any chair like that in Utah before. Reporting live, Paul Nelson, KSL News Radio.
Your voice, your vote, 2016. The Deseret News this afternoon published an opinion piece from Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump on the heels of a similar op-ed from Hillary Clinton last week. In his article, Trump spells out his platform before saying earning the trust and support of Utah voters is one of his top priorities.
Independent presidential candidate Evan McMullen's campaign today delivered a huge pile of signatures to the lieutenant governor's office. The signatures are necessary to get McMullen's name on the ballot in Utah this November.
Not only did we deliver the 1,000 signatures, but we also delivered more than 1,000 additional signatures to show the energy and the enthusiasm that people from all across the state have to see a candidate with integrity and capacity.
That's McMullen's advisor, Brian Henderson. McMullen is a Provo native and BYU grad who was working for the CIA. He's running as an independent, saying he decided to enter the race to provide Republican voters with an alternative to Donald Trump.
Donald Trump has laid out his plan for defeating radical Islam.
With KSL's top national stories this hour, here's Jeff Kaplan live at the KSL National News Desk.
The Trump speech was short on details, long on criticism of Hillary Clinton.
The rise of ISIS is the direct result of policy decisions made by President Obama and Secretary of State Clinton.
Donald Trump's plan: after he wins, he'll quickly form a commission on radical Islam, which will include some Muslim voices, he says. He wants extreme vetting of foreigners coming to the U.S., a test that they support U.S. values, and, of course, a complete ban on anyone from countries where there's terrorist activity. No word which countries make that list. Hillary Clinton is attacking Trump for saying that he provides on-site child care for his employees. He does offer child care. Not to workers, but to his luxury hotel guests. As Hillary Clinton says, if you clean the room or water the lawn, you get nothing. Levee breaches, evacuations, and Coast Guard rescues continue in Louisiana after the weekend of epic flooding. 20,000 people driven from their homes. 6 deaths have been discovered after 1.5 feet of rain sent swollen rivers over the banks and the dikes. Perhaps the scariest part, 3 out of every 4 families driven from their homes had no flood insurance. A volunteer from Utah with the American Red Cross is heading to Baton Rouge to help. KSL News Radio's Peter Seymour here.
Michael Smalden would see disasters on TV and knew he wanted to get into the middle of them and help. He'll build temporary shelters in Baton Rouge over the next 2 weeks. He did the same thing after last month's Tooele fire destroyed 10 homes. Smalden said he was sad to encounter suffering and excited to assist in alleviating it.
Good man. Smalden has trained with the Red Cross for a year. He says he's prepared to help in any disaster nationwide. Live from the KSL National News Desk, I'm Jeff Kaplan, KSL News Radio.
Deja vu for Tooele today as a brush fire burned dangerously close to homes in the heart of downtown. It comes less than a month after another fire destroyed 10 homes. Tooele Fire Chief Bucky Warehouse says witnesses saw kids running away from the location of today's fire.
Right now we have law enforcement doing some investigations, actually doing some interviews as to who they think might have caused the fire.
The fire scorched about 30 acres near 10th North and 400 East. Firefighters struggled against shifting winds, but were able to protect nearby homes.
Thousands of people in Northern California have had to leave their homes today because of a wildfire. It is tearing through the community of Lake County, about 2 hours west of Sacramento.
We had to evacuate the hospital in Clear Lake and transfer those patients up to hospital in Lakeport.
Lieutenant Steve Brooks with the Lake County Sheriff's Office says the fire has burned at least 4 homes and has blackened 2,000 acres.
Recent rains have fire managers in southwestern Utah, northern Arizona breathing a bit easier. They've let fire restrictions expire, meaning campfires and charcoal grills are again welcome on public lands in Washington, Iron, and Beaver counties.
A new study in the journal Pediatrics suggests parents putting babies to bed are often putting them at risk. ABC's Karen Chase has the story.
What's going on in the middle of the night? A new study suggests most parents aren't being careful enough to avoid putting their babies to bed in situations with known risk factors for SIDS, like laying them on their stomachs or sides or in their own beds, even though they knew they were being videotaped. Moms and dads did it 10 to 20% of the time. About 90% of the infants had potentially dangerous items in their cribs, like pillows, loose bedding, and stuffed animals. One University of Rochester researcher believes parental fatigue plays a role and says parents should remember, when it comes to baby's bed, boring is best. Karen Chase, ABC News.
First look traffic on the 5 o'clock report. Here's Ricky Meese.
We're getting reports of a power outage in the Ormond Vineyard areas of Utah County, and that's going to be affecting the traffic lights. Play nice. Treat those intersections as 4-way stops. If you're headed northbound on I-15, slowing from downtown to the north interchange, and also expect some heavy and slow traffic, Kaysville and Layton. The East Belt seeing unusual delays this afternoon, likely due to roadwork. Southbound, it's going to be from 3300 south to about 4900 south. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Police in New York City may be closer to finding the killer of an imam and his assistant.
Police are questioning a person of interest in the weekend murder of Imam Maulama Akonji and his assistant Tara Uddin. Both men were walking home from their mosque in Queens Saturday afternoon when they were shot at close range in broad daylight. Video images show the lone gunman approach from behind, fire, then flee as the 2 men fall. Police have said nothing about a motive, but the mayor said Muslim communities have been in the perpetual crosshairs of bigotry.
That's ABC's Aaron Katursky reporting.
You won't see it, but people from the FAA to airline pilots hope a new digital communication system will make a big difference in the flying world. Today at the Salt Lake Airport, they demonstrated a new so-called data communication system. It streamlines communications between pilots and control towers. Delta Chief Pilot Jim Graham says it also eliminates the chance for some human error.
Safer air travel, more predictable flight schedules, better fuel economy, lower carbon footprint, and overall lower cost that will transfer to our customers.
The system uses data that can be sent directly to a plane's computer rather than radio traffic for flight plans.
Utah's rural areas are getting a bigger cut of the state's tourism budget than ever before as more and more outside visitors book trips to the Beehive State.
$3.4 million, the most they've ever divvied out. The idea is that a community or county will come to the Office of Tourism with a marketing idea and ask for backing. But they have to fork out quite a bit of money as well.
$1-to-$1 matches at the state level.
Of the millions, Vicki Varela, the State Director of Tourism, Film, and Global Branding, says about 40% went to rural areas.
The rural tourism economies are growing like crazy.
She says funding for a program like this will only keep growing as we see more and more out-of-state visitors. In fact, last year alone, Utah raked in nearly $8 billion. Brianna Bodley, KSL News Radio.
U.S. Forest Service is closing some public lands in New Mexico to protect an endangered mouse. The agency says campers have been tearing down barbed wire and electric fences that it put up to protect meadow jumping mouse habitat. Now, the effort started in 2014 after the mouse was put on the endangered species list.
NASA says the Earth boiled to its hottest month on record. July broke global temperature records, clocking in at 1.5 degrees Fahrenheit warmer than the average. Scientists blame mostly man-made climate change with a boost from the El Nino ocean pattern, which has since faded. Get you up to date with Triple Team Traffic. First, here's Ricky Meese.
You're going to see normal KSL travel times southbound I-15 from downtown to the I-8201 interchange, and that's where you're facing your delays for your Monday afternoon drive home. Those are going to continue to Sandy at 90th South. The east belt of I-215 seeing some roadwork slowdown southbound from 3300 South almost to I-215 south belt, and southbound I-215's west belt heavy and slow 9th South to the 21st South Freeway. Eric Butler.
Southbound I-15 in Utah County slow at 2100 north, and on the northbound side as you leave North Orem, head up towards Pleasant Grove Boulevard, you got some brake tapping there going on. And right around that same area, we're hearing of a power outage over on the west side of the freeway in Orem, right in that Vineyard area. So if you come across a stoplight that's light's not working, treat it as a four-way stop. From Mark Jackson.
Yeah, we had about up to close to about half a dozen problems between the North Interchange and Honeyville this afternoon. Now, it looks like most of those problems have cleared, but we have a little sluggish traffic up to the North Interchange. Then from prior to Shepherd Lane, spots up to Hillfield Road. Now, Highway 89's a little bit busy, just getting some overflows already this afternoon up in Fruit Heights. Salt Lake Comic-Con returns to the Salt Palace the weekend of September 1st through 3rd with over 300 hours of panels. You don't want to miss 1 minute of the excitement. Mark Jackson in the KSL Traffic Center.
Traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on the 9s. And here's Kevin Eubank with the hourly forecast on the 5 o'clock report. An hour-by-hour description of the upcoming day.
Thanks a lot, guys. As we head through the 5 o'clock hour, temperatures will remain in the low 90s with mostly cloudy skies. Temperatures fall down into the upper 80s for 6 and 7 o'clock, mid-80s as we head on through 8 and 9. Ultimately, lows overnight will drop down into the low 70s. From the KSL Weather Center with your hourly forecast on the 5 o'clock report, I'm Kevin Eubank.
And right now, 93 degrees, dark clouds in downtown Salt Lake City.
The FAA, Salt Lake International Airport, and airline pilots unveiling a new system that may help get you on in the air more quickly and more safely. We'll have more of that coming up at 5:15.
In depth now on one of our top national stories, here's Jeff Kaplan at the KSL National News Desk.
The polls show him 10 points down in Pennsylvania, but Friday, Donald Trump said he'll win there if it's fair and square.
We're not going to lose. The only way we can lose, in my opinion, I really mean this, Pennsylvania, is if cheating goes on.
So how do you make sure there's no cheating?
We're going to watch Pennsylvania very quickly. We're going to watch Pennsylvania. Go down to certain areas and watch and study and make sure other people don't come in and vote 5 times.
The Washington Post says you're more likely to win the Powerball than find voter fraud in a serious way in the U.S. It barely happens, but Trump is intent on watching those polls. On his website, you can sign up to be a Trump election observer. Watch how this can work. In New Jersey, 1981, the Republican Party signed up observers to watch the polls in minority areas. They wore armbands reading National Ballot Security Force. Many of the observers were armed off-duty cops, intimidating. Well, on Friday, Pennsylvania, Donald Trump said we need to have the sheriffs and police chiefs and everybody watching in PA. Only problem is you can't do this anymore. A judge saw what happened in New Jersey and declared it illegal to intimidate voters this way, especially in minority areas. But Trump may have a way out. While it's illegal for political parties to intimidate voters, Trump is not a political party, and it's possible he could send out his own army of volunteers to guard against cheating. If you could imagine the people from his rallies guarding inner-city ballot boxes. Live from the KSL National News Desk, I'm Jeff Kaplan, KSL News Radio.
A new trial date has been set for the Orem man convicted of killing his wife in 2012. Conrad Truman's attorneys will ask that he be released on bail next week. They say they'll file a motion which would essentially undo the order to hold him over for trial. Truman's attorney, Ann Telefero, says they have evidence that shows the fatal shot was self-inflicted.
We think that almost every piece of evidence that they presented previously, as well as every theory they presented previously, we have throughout these new trial proceedings completely undercut.
Prosecutors say they did make a mistake on the dimensions where the body was found, but they say the rest of their evidence is solid. The new trial is set to begin November 1st.
The man accused of killing his husband, prominent Utah restaurateur John Williams, in a house fire last May, wants out of jail. Craig Crawford is asking a judge to grant bail in the case. Crawford could face the death penalty. Williams had filed for divorce from Crawford shortly before his death.
And one of the stories we're following on the 5 o'clock report, we're learning more today about the 2014 death of an inmate at the Utah State Prison, and the motive for the attack is shocking. KSL News Radio's Dave Cawley has the new information. So what led to the attack, Dave?
It was a fight over noise between these two inmates. Today, Samuel Wise cut a plea deal to criminal charges, admitting to killing Christopher Lucas. This was back in September September of 2014 because Lucas made too much noise in the mornings. I think we've all been annoyed by that at some point, but never taken a life for it. A corrections officer had to use a whole can of pepper spray, while others fired pepper balls, like little paintballs full of irritants, to get Wise to stop. Charging documents in this case say Lucas died at the hospital from a combination of adrenaline and exposure to that pepper spray. Scott, Maria?
All right, thank you, Dave. Trending this hour on the 5 o'clock report, Michael Phelps' Olympic swimming career is seemingly over.
Before I even put my goggles on, I started to tear up.
Well, he leaves the sport the most decorated swimmer in Olympic history, but he wasn't even the best swimmer in the United States when he was 10 years old. That title goes to a former Utah Jazz man.
And he slams it in! Chris Humphries across the lane.
Now, Chris Humphries topped all other 10-year-olds in 6 different categories, including the 200 individual medley. Now, Phelps did win the 100 fly. Maybe Humphries was the best because he was taller than everyone else.
Well, I think Michael Phelps proved to be the better swimmer because he now has 23 gold medals, and I think, total 28 medals altogether? Yeah.
ABC News coming up in 1 minute.
KSL News Time, 5:16. The 3 things you need to know this hour. First,
rural communities are getting a big tourism boost next year as the state promises several $1 million in marketing aid. On KSL News Radio's Brianna Bodley.
Second, a Utah Red Cross volunteer is headed to Louisiana to help the victims of a devastating flooding there. He'll spend 2 weeks building temporary structures for people displaced from their homes. Third, traffic and weather.
Unusual slowdown southbound I-215's east belt starting at 3300 south and continuing all the way to 6200 south. Then in Utah County, we have some unusual slowing as well. This is going to be northbound I-15 going from Linden to Pleasant Grove. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Clouds in northern Utah, but scattered showers and gusty winds across central and southern parts of the state. I'm Kevin Eubank.
93 degrees downtown.
Now KSL's top national stories.
From ABC News, I'm Richard Cantu. The Donald Trump ideological test for would-be immigrants. Campaigning in Youngstown, Ohio, the Republican presidential nominee said he'd require people moving to the U.S. to go through what he called extreme vetting, and he would create a commission on radical Islam.
This commission will be used to develop new protocols for local police officers, federal investigators, and immigration screeners.
On the stump in Scranton, Pennsylvania, Hillary Clinton accused Trump of calling for a tax loophole that would be a sweet deal for him.
He would end up paying a rate lower than millions of middle-class families. Now, that is assuming he pays any taxes at all, because we really don't know since we haven't seen his tax returns.
All 3 major U.S. stock indexes closed in record territory. The rising price of crude oil not being reflected at the gas pump yet, the main driver.
Oil prices over the last 3 days are up 11%. And when oil prices start going up, you see all of the underlying energy companies, you see those prices go up as well. And the Chevrons and the Exxons of the world, these are very big companies. So when their stock prices move, they tend to lift the overall market.
ABC News Chief Business and Economics Correspondent Rebecca Jarvis. Strict enforcement of Milwaukee's 10 p.m. curfew for minors is being promised after 2 nights of violence that followed a deadly police-involved shooting. Mayor Tom Barrett addressed a graduating class of newly minted police officers.
This has been a very challenging weekend for the Milwaukee Police Department. And I believe they performed in an exemplary fashion. Not
returning fire, even though an officer's helmet was grazed by gunfire last night. Police report 14 arrests. North of San Francisco, no fewer than 100 homes have been destroyed by the wildfire in the lower Lake California area. Another 1,500 homes and other structures are threatened. You're listening to ABC News.
It's time now for the KSL In-Depth on the 5 o'clock report. You would think a person-to-person conversation would be the best way to communicate between 2 people, but pilots and air traffic controllers say that that's not the case.
Delta Chief Pilot Captain Jim Graham says right now they receive flight instructions from the tower by radio.
When the clearance comes from the air traffic controllers, it has to translate through either being copied from our electronic way that we receive the clearance and then be typed into the system, or we actually write it down and type it into the system. So either way, you're put into a situation that you could have a manual data entry error.
Today saw Lake International Airport debuted the next-gen communication system, which replaces talking with digital information exchanges.
What it actually does for us is it takes the pilot out of that manual data entry and turns them into a verifier of data. So now you take what's been sent to you and you go into your flight management system and you're comparing the two and looking for mistakes versus taking all that additional time to type it in first and reducing the time that you have to verify. Okay. So it really is strong for us.
Graham says they are now training pilots to make sure they know how to use the system. He says the old way will be used as a backup.
And you've been listening to the KSL In Depth at 15 and 45. Let's take a look at your drive with Ricky Meese.
Southbounders on I-15, your typical slowdowns waiting for you between 2100 and 90th south, but unusual slowing on the East Belt southbound from 3300 south to 6200 south at Knutson's Corner. The West Belt now heavy and slow southbound, essentially from I-80 down to about 3900 south. And KSL traffic trooper Larry saying road work taking traffic down to one lane, causing backups 2100 south, 1100 east. Eric Butler.
The southbound commute is starting to get a little bit thicker in Utah County. Still not a bad drive from Point of the Mountain down to Provo. Just a little bit of brake tapping going on at Lehigh's Main Street. The northbound side is probably a little bit busier at this point, a little bit slower as you move from North Orem, 800 north, up towards the Pleasant Grove Boulevard exit. That's where we do have an accident over on the right shoulder in Linden, and then further up the road at Lehigh's Main Street, a little bit of slowing as well. Mark?
KSL traffic trooper reminding us of a wreck northbound I-15 in Farmington between Clark Lane and Shepherd Lane. This thing has been there for the entire afternoon, and now that the 5 o'clock rush hour is really kicking in, traffic is slow there in spots up to Hillfield Road. Highway 89 delays up into Fruit Heights, and then now you've got 215 overflowing at the north end up from I-80. Do you get that nagging feeling every time you start your Carly to find that pesky check engine light? Have the pros at AMCO investigate with a free diagnostic. Go AMCO AAMCO. Mark Jackson of the KSL Traffic Center.
Traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on the nines. Well, we've got some stormy afternoons ahead of us for the next few days. Here's Kevin Eubank with the KSL 7-day family forecast.
Scott and Maria, plenty of clouds around northern Utah today and some scattered showers and thunderstorms over central and southern parts of the state. Tonight, partly cloudy and 73. A little warmer on Tuesday, upper 90s with partly cloudy conditions. A chance for a few afternoon thunderstorms by Wednesday. Then we dry it out. Temperatures kind of drop back into the low 90s, which is normal for this time of the year. And we'll see a whole lot more sunshine by Friday, Saturday, Sunday. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Kevin Eubank.
And right now in Salt Lake, we do have mostly cloudy skies, 93 degrees.
Time now for Zions Bank speaking on business, and here is Chris Redgrave.
While growing up in Colorado, Missy Grice learned to have an incredible respect for the environment and the world around.
Watching Utah's money, real estate was booming in northern Utah last year. In 2015, there were 169 homes that sold above the $1 million mark. It's according to the Salt Lake Board of Realtors. It's a 32% increase from 2014. Median price of the mansions, $1.3 million.
KSL Drives brought to you by Kangar Volvo. Safety first. Audi unveils new technology that will allow its vehicles in the U.S. to communicate with traffic signals. The tech allows traffic signals to exchange safety and other data with cars over the cloud. Eventually, it could also help mitigate crashes and reduce congestion.
Billionaire Warren Buffett's company is taking an even bigger bite of Apple stock. Berkshire Hathaway says it now owns 15.2 million Apple shares in a regulatory filing. That's up from 9.8 million it purchased in the spring. Berkshire Hathaway also owns close to 79 million shares of Phillips 66.
Your money at this moment, the Dow up 60 points, ending at 18,636. NASDAQ increasing by 29, S&P 500 up by 6 points.
A recent tax hike in Ogden might just be the tip of the iceberg. It left many homeowners annoyed, but now all of Weaver County could be looking at something similar. KSL News specialist Ashley Kewish has the story.
Multiple agencies in Weaver County are looking to increase property taxes, which is leaving some people quite angry.
It means that we have fewer deputies to respond to calls, including high-risk calls.
Tonight on KSL Live at 5, the additional amount of money residents could be pulling from their pockets and why the county says the increase is necessary. Ashley Kewish, KSL News Radio.
Straight ahead on Utah's Afternoon News, fast-moving grass fire terrifying Tooele residents this afternoon.
And we'll get you the latest on the slowdowns on your drive home with Triple Team Traffic coming up next.
Hi, friends. Dan the Laptop Man here from PC.
Triple Team Traffic, let's get you back over to KSL's Traffic Center and Ricky Meese.
You want to add an extra 10 minutes minimum to your normal KSL travel time. Southbound I-215's eastbound, it's due to slowdowns from 3300 south to 6200 south. Southbound I-15, your usual slowing in place between 2100 and 90th south, and the westbound stacked up slow between I-80 and Taylorsville, westbound on the 21st South Freeway. Some spots of slowing going westbound between I-15 and the West Belt. Eric Butler.
That northbound accident in Linden on I-15 has been cleared up, but you've still got slowing in that area from 1600 north up to Pleasant Grove Boulevard, and more slowing further north, Lehigh's Main Street, and going by SR-92. Southbound I-15 brake tapping happening at 2100 north. Mark Jackson.
Yeah, northbound I-15 is a little rough once you get to the Highway 89 split. The reason is we've had a lingering wreck. Now, it looked just like seconds ago it pulled away northbound near Park Lane, but you still got delays coming between Highway 89 and Hillfield Road. Highway 89 is overflowing up into Fruit Heights. We also have some delays on 215 at the north end coming up from I-80. Whether you do it yourself or a contractor, Diamond Rental has the right equipment for your next project at 12 Utah locations, including their newest store on 12th Street in Ogden, diamondrental.com. Mark Jackson of the KSL Traffic Center.
Traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on the nines, and boy, some dark clouds out there. Haven't seen much rain. Let's get the latest with Kevin Eubank.
Cloudy skies today along the Wasatch Front with high temperatures in the low 90s. Now tonight, we'll look for partly cloudy skies in 73, 98, and a few clouds around on Tuesday. We do see a few scattered showers, especially over Richfield, central Utah, and up through the Uinta Basin. Those thunderstorms will expand northward on Wednesday, so about a 30% chance of some afternoon thunderstorms along the Wasatch Front. We then dried out, partly cloudy to mostly sunny skies to finish the work week. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Kevin Eubank.
You're listening to Utah's Afternoon News with Scott Seeger and Maria Chaleos on KSL News Radio 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
Good afternoon. KSL News Time, 5:31. Dark clouds downtown, 93 degrees.
We got eastbound delays, southbound coming down from I-80. I'm Mark Jackson.
Our top story this hour, a fast-moving grass fire caused a scare in Tooele today, and investigators say it appears to have been human-caused.
Tooele has been on edge about fire since last month when 10 homes were destroyed by an intentionally set blaze. This time, firefighters were able to protect homes near 1000 North and 400 East.
We had a microcell that came through the area. However, all evidence at this point leads us to believe that it was an accidental fire.
Tooele Fire Chief Bucky Whitehouse saying witnesses reported seeing some kids running away from that field as the flames were just getting going. The fire blackened about 30 acres of grass burning right behind a neighborhood. It was touch and go for a time because of the wind.
It was originally blowing to the north and then switched to the east and then again to the south. So it was quite a challenge for us to stay safe and get the fire out.
Dave Cawley, KSL News Radio.
Ogden firefighters say a fire that scorched about 30 acres this morning happened right near the site of another fire yesterday. Both were human-caused, and investigators are asking people to report any suspicious activity in the area of Park Boulevard.
Family of a federal firefighter from Vermont who was killed fighting a wildfire near the Nevada-Utah border say he had a passion for people and the outdoors. Justin Beebe hoped to become a paramedic, but was hit by a tree just outside of Great Basin National Park fighting the fire. His parents say their son had worked as a logger in New England and on his family's farm in Westminster, Vermont, where they produce maple syrup.
Strong wind gusts are whipping parts of western Utah this afternoon. A big chunk of the state is actually under a high wind warning. National Weather Service meteorologist Pete Walensky says the cause is up above in the clouds.
A lot of these are producing some rain, but it's very little of that's getting to the ground. But what that does do is it produces some cooling, that evaporative cooling that as the rain evaporates coming out of the cloud.
That cool air then rushes to the ground in a microburst. Those conditions also have the Wasatch Front and a lot of other areas under a red flag warning, which means that they are at greater risk of wildfires.
Donald Trump was just as critical, but he didn't call Hillary Clinton the founder of ISIS today.
Now with KSL's top national stories this hour, here's Jeff Kaplan live at the KSL National News Desk.
The new argument against Hillary Clinton that her health isn't good enough for the fight against radical Islam.
She also lacks the mental and physical stamina to take on ISIS and all of the many adversaries we face.
Trump has been mentioning Clinton's physical stamina the past few days, echoing right-wing websites that claim Clinton is hiding illnesses. Milwaukee is bracing for more trouble after 2 nights of rioting.
There is a curfew that is in existence right now for teenagers.
Off the streets by 10 p.m. as they hope to blunt the mayhem that left 14 arrested last night, 4 cops hit by concrete chunks, one 18-year-old shot in the neck by whom they don't know. This after a black police officer shot an armed suspect said to have been running from police. In New York City, the funeral was held for a Muslim religious leader shot dead point blank in the back of the head.
We want justice! We want justice! We want justice!
Muslim protesters, angry police have yet to charge the possible suspect. Police think this killing was part of a petty war between Muslims and Mexicans over parking spaces. Women are getting more primetime attention in Rio. A study of the coverage thus far shows women's sports are featured more than 60% of the time. Maybe this is a victory for women's sports, maybe not. The balance is being shifted by beach volleyball, played in bikinis, but by some very amazing athletes. Live at the KSL National News Desk, I'm Jack Kaplan, KSL News Radio.
Thousands of people are out of their homes in Louisiana because of major flooding. Waters have damaged or destroyed tens of thousands of homes. Hoppy Jones lives in the town of Amite and says he has never seen this much water in his neighborhood.
You couldn't see any land in between my house and the house next door. It was all water.
Even the state's governor was forced out of the governor's residence by chest-high water.
A Utah man convicted of killing his wife has already won a new trial. Now he's starting a fight for freedom while waiting for that new one. KSL News Radio's Paul Nelson is live in Utah County with more. Paul?
Maria, this Orem man who was previously convicted of killing his wife in 2012 will get a new trial in November. Conrad Truman's attorneys say they're also going to file a motion to essentially undo the judge's orders to hold him over for trial in the first place. That order is 3 years old. His attorney, Mark Moffitt, says prosecutors used faulty dimensions when they showed where Heidi Truman's body went after the fatal gunshot wound.
The diagrams with the silhouette on it made it appear as if Heidi Truman had traveled this vast distance before her body came to rest on the floor, when in fact her body fell exactly where it was.
But prosecutors say the dimensions were just one piece of the overall evidence. They also say Truman's statements to police conflicted with each other, showing guilt. Reporting live, Paul Nelson, KSL News Radio.
Coming up on KSL, Donald Trump pens a message for Utah voters. We'll tell you what he's saying in an exclusive op-ed in the Deseret News.
And Triple Team Traffic.
Typical slowdowns for Davis County drivers northbound I-15 from Lagoon to Layton Hills Mall. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL News Time, 5:36.
You have a choice when you call. Drop KSL in your pocket or purse and take us everywhere. Search KSL Radio in the App Store. Get live news, on-demand talk, and instant traffic reports.
KSL News Time, 5:38. Donald Trump's opinion column has hit the Deseret News website close to a week after Hillary Clinton's was published online.
Clearly wants to reach Utah voters. According to the campaign, he personally was involved in penning this. So it's obvious that he, as he mentioned in those comments, he says he has a problem here in Utah. And like I have said before, the first step to the road to recovery is recognizing you have a problem.
Deseret News opinion editor Hal Boyd tells Utah's Afternoon News Trump also brought up religious liberties. Trump says he wants the Johnson Amendment repealed. It prevents religious leaders from endorsing candidates unless their church wants to give up their tax-exempt status.
Many Utahns think that there will be another Clinton in the White House. A new UtahPolicy.com poll shows 45% of likely Utah voters believe that Hillary Clinton will beat Donald Trump in the November election. Only 28% think that Trump will win, while 19% don't know. Now, the others think some other candidate will take the White House. KSL News Time, 5:39, and let's get you up to date on the drive with Ricky Meese.
Boy, those traveling the East Belt this afternoon in for a surprise with unusual delays. It's due to the road work. So for southbounders, you're going to be in slower than normal speeds in some spots where it is crawling along between I-80 and Knutson's Corner at 6200 South, and some unusual eastbound slowing on I-80 between 13th East and Foothill. Southbound I-15, heavy and slow from about 9th South all the way Parkway into Sandy, and westbound on the 21st South Freeway, heavy and slow between I-15 and the West Belt. Eric Butler.
Northbounders are getting a little slower drive this afternoon, Utah County, than the southbound side. First of all, you've got it from 1600 north in the North Orem-Linden area up to Pleasant Grove Boulevard, and then further up the line at Lehigh's Main Street. Now, you do have some southbound slowing as you move past Point of the Mountain. This is actually past SR 92. You go by Thanksgiving Point, you're going to hit the brakes a little bit, and it's still busy down in Provo on University Parkway as you head up from Provo over to Orem. Mark?
Got some sluggish volume northbound I-15 rolling up to the north interchange. Worst of the delays right there going to be 2300 North Warm Springs briefly. Then it looks sluggish between Highway 89 and Layton Hills Mall. Highway 89 overflowing into Fruit Heights. 215 is a scooch slow right there at I-80, but the further north you get up to Legacy Parkway, the better the traffic is. Call 855-GETAWAY to experience a spooktacular Halloween time at the Disneyland Resort and get an extra night free at getawaytoday.com. Mark Jackson in the KSL Traffic Center.
Traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on the nines. Well, we've got that afternoon storminess in the forecast for the next few days. Here's Kevin Eubank.
Plenty of clouds out there today. High temperatures been in the low 90s with some scattered showers and thunderstorms in parts of central and southern Utah. Tonight, partly cloudy and 73. We'll go back into the mid-90s during the day on Tuesday, and we'll see a few thunderstorms creep in here on Wednesday. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Kevin Eubank.
And right now, in Salt Lake, cloudy skies and 93 degrees.
Well, a big chunk of the state under a high wind warning. We're going to go in depth on that subject coming up at 5:45.
Stay with us right here on KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM, Utah's news, traffic, weather, and BYU Cougar Station. I want to tell you about the Power Travel Rewards credit card from Security Service Federal Credit Union. Now, don't let the name fool you. It's great when you're on the road, but with the Power Travel Rewards credit card, you also earn points for every dollar you spend.
Right. This is a card you're going to want to use every single day on every single purchase. You earn 3 times the points on gas, travel, and restaurant purchases, and then 1 point for every dollar spent on all other purchases.
There's no limit on the amount of points you can earn. Those points never expire, and then you redeem those points online for cash back, travel, and gift cards.
Plus, there is no annual fee, and the interest rate, it is much lower than those other rewards credit cards.
And even if your credit score isn't high, you're going to get a lower rate with Security Service than with the big banks. Just apply online at ssfcu.org/powertravel or visit any Security Service branch, and you can get your card instantly instead of waiting up to a week to get it in the mail.
Membership eligibility required, subject to credit approval. Annual percentage rate based on credit worthiness. Visit a branch or ssfcu.org for details.
Did you know approximately 40 million Americans of every age...
KSL News Time, 5:45. The 3 things you need to know this hour. First, an Orem man convicted of killing his wife is making a bid to get out of jail while awaiting a new trial. Conrad Truman has maintained his wife took her own life.
Second, Utah is devoting more money than ever before to boost tourism prospects for rural communities. The state is spending $3.5 million on the advertising effort.
Third is a look at your traffic.
And for those who are traveling southbound I-15, you've got a good drive rounding the Point of the Mountain until you're passing SR 92 in Lehigh. But the East Belt has the unusual slowdowns today. Southbound, it's due to road work between I-80 and I-215 South Belt. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Plenty of clouds here in the north and some scattered showers just to the south. I'm Kevin Eubank.
Right now in Salt Lake, 93 degrees.
Time now for KSL's top national stories.
At least 175 homes and other structures destroyed by a wildfire ripping through the Lower Lake, California area, north of San Francisco.
At roadblocks right now, families are lined up waiting for word about the fate of their homes, looking for some kind of information. Janira Sanchez says when they left on Sunday night, she could see fire everywhere.
A lot of people lose their houses.
Many of the evacuees are staying in shelters as firefighters work to save their homes. Alex Stone, ABC News.
Officials in Louisiana say more than 11,000 people are in shelters because of flooding triggered by days of intense rain. Some 20,000 people evacuated. The storm blamed for at least 6 deaths. The U.S. says the Syrian city of Manbij was liberated over the weekend. Islamic State fighters fleeing in a 500-car convoy, many of them carrying fighters and civilians to avoid being destroyed by airstrikes. IS had warned the Syrian Arab coalition they would kill civilians traveling with them if they came under attack. Richard Cantu, ABC News.
Time now for the KSL In-Depth. If you're headed out anywhere in Utah tonight, don't spend too much time worrying about your hair. A huge chunk of the state is under a high wind warning from the National Weather Service.
Already this afternoon, gusts topping 70 miles per hour have whipped across areas of the western desert, and the Wasatch Front and Cache Valley are also getting buffeted. Weather Service meteorologist Pete Walensky says the strength of the wind will depend on where you are.
Normally when we put out a high wind warning, we have widespread, steady winds that, will go on. And this is a slightly different beast because we have these high base showers that are moving around and there's a few thunderstorms mixed in with them. A lot of these are producing some rain, but it's very little of that's getting to the ground.
As that rain evaporates in midair, it actually causes cooling. The colder air rushes toward the ground in a microburst of wind.
KSL News Radio's Mark Juke asked Walensky how someone can know if they are in the path of a gust.
It's the sort of gray, fibrous look of stuff hanging out of the cloud, and it sort of tapers kind of as it comes down, and that's the rain evaporating, and it's below those or near those.
So anywhere you see that virga is kind of where you might expect.
Why you might expect potentially high wind gusts, and they don't last very long.
And not terribly unusual either, I guess.
No, it's pretty common. This is a common phenomena. We've been real dry the last couple of days. Our humidity is still pretty low down here at low levels, and we've had this moisture spread in, at mid and upper levels of the atmosphere, and there's enough instability that it's creating, some updrafts up at that elevation, and so it's falling back out, and this happens a lot. This is a common phenomena for us here in the western deserts.
Now, the wind warning is set to expire at 10 o'clock tonight. A perhaps bigger concern, though, is a red flag warning, which is also in place across much of northern Utah. That means weather conditions are prime for wildfires.
And you've been listening to KSL In-Depth at 15 and 45.
Time for another update now of Triple Team Traffic. Back over to KSL's Traffic Center. How are we doing, Ricky Meade?
We've got delays on a lot of the Valley freeways. Southbound I-15, heavy and slow from just before 2100 south to 90th south. The East Belt seeing unusual slowdowns southbound between I-80 and 6200 south. Eastbound on I-80, heavy and slow 7th east over to Foothill. And southbound I-215's West Belt, some slowing from California Avenue to the Maverick Center. Eric Butler.
At normal speeds, it's 20 minutes from Point of the Mountain, I-15 southbound in Utah County down to University Avenue in Provo, but just add a couple extra minutes to that because you've got some slowing going by 2100 north in Lehigh. Now, the northbound side is still a little bit slow as you head north from 1600 north and Orem up towards Pleasant Grove Boulevard, and you've got another patch of slowing as you go by Lehigh's Main Street. Mark Jackson.
Northbound I-15 looks a little sluggish to the north interchange, but the biggest delays in Davis County come between Highway 89 and Layton Hills Mall, and the slowest of that stretch really is about at Shepherd Lane. Highway 89 overflowing up into Fruit Heights. 215 is a little bit slow, but not too bad. Once you clear I-80, it doesn't look too bad on the north end. This traffic report sponsored by Larry H. Miller Chevy Provo, your Blue Tag bonus tag sale headquarters, located 2 blocks west of Lavelle Edwards Stadium, or visit Larry H. Miller Chevrolet Provo.com. Mark Jackson in the KSL Traffic Center.
Traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on the 9s. Well, we've talked about those high winds. Let's get the latest in the KSL 7-day family forecast. Here's Kevin Eubank.
Scott, Maria, plenty of clouds over Utah today with a few scattered showers and thunderstorms over central and southern parts of the state. Tonight, 73 and partly cloudy. We'll keep the clouds around and temperatures in the mid to upper 90s during the day on Tuesday. Chance of more thunderstorms rolls in here by Wednesday afternoon, but even then, only a 30% chance that Salt Lake will see some rain. Temperatures then drop into the low 90s for the rest of the week, and we start to see a bit more sunshine. Mostly sunny skies by Friday, all sunshine for the weekend. From the KSL Weather Center, I'm Kevin Eubank.
And right now, 93 degrees downtown.
Some Park City artists who were hoping to sell their wares at the Arts Festival became the victims of crime instead. More on that story coming up at 6 o'clock.
Now that the kids are headed back to school, you want to make sure that they have all the tools that they need to be successful. And you need to hear about Xfinity, because Xfinity delivers the fastest, most reliable in-home Wi-Fi. Even when the whole family is online, my family loves it.
It's great. And for a limited time, new customers can get a special offer on the X1 Starter XF Double Play. It's just $69.99 a month for a year with a 2-year agreement. Plus, you'll get Showtime and Stream Picks included for 2 full years.
You don't want to wait on this one. This sale ends August 21st. 21st. Restrictions apply. Equipment, taxes, and fees, including broadcast TV and RSN fees, are extra. Just go to Xfinity.com or call 1-800-XFINITY for all of the details. Or you can just visit your local Xfinity store today.
And don't forget, you can change the way you experience TV with Xfinity's X1. It's the simplest, fastest, and most complete way to access all of your entertainment on all of your screens.
Find out more at Xfinity.com or go to 1-800-XFINITY today.
Homeowners, are you thinking of selling your home?
Watching Utah's Money, an Italian restaurant in New Mexico, is drawing a lot of heat from mimicking the Black Lives Matter movement. Paisanos in Albuquerque is selling Black Olives Matter shirts and hats. The owner says he's using the phrase to sell a tuna dish with black olive tapenade. Many of his on his Facebook, though, say he's being insensitive.
The logos on the uniforms of Olympic athletes in Rio are a bit bigger in this year's games compared to the last time in London. The International Olympic Committee allowed sponsors to increase the size of logos from 20 square centimeters to 30. Companies can also display a second, smaller label.
Your money up this moment. The Dow Jones Industrials finished the day up 60 points to finish at a record high of 18,636. The Nasdaq up 29, also a record high. The S&P jumped 6, also a record high.
Time now for Cougar Tracks. Each weekday on Utah's exclusive radio home of the BYU Cougars, KSL News Radio.
And now brought to you by Bank of America and Fork. Here's KSL News Radio's Cleon Wall.
The Cougars back at practice today after Saturday's scrimmage, and head coach Kalani Sitake says they're pretty much right on track. Sitake still hasn't named a starting quarterback, but says he hopes to do so soon.
I think once somebody basically separates himself and we feel comfortable with it, talking with Ty and myself, and we'll make a decision.
So what is he looking for in a starting QB?
Exactly what the two guys are. So it's not about who's better at starting. They both have experience. It's just who's going to be the best fit for us right now and who wins the battle.
Maybe we should call it as the QB battle turns. Meanwhile, the wide receivers are benefiting from two experienced quarterbacks, especially the new guys.
You can tell they're getting their jitters out and their nervousness out. So they're starting to make plays and come up. I think they'll be big.
That's wideout Moroni Laulu Pututau, who is a veteran sophomore. He says Bo Tanner and Jonah Trinneman are a couple of new guys who've been playing great. With Cougar Tracks, I'm Cleon Wall on your radio home of the BYU Cougars, KSL News Radio.
Brought to you by Bank of America and Fork. Lose the lease, get a building of your own. Visit bankaf.com.
So you're expanding, building a new warehouse, I hear?
Yeah, we felt like the time was right, so
Hi, it's Brian and Amanda, and we want to tell you about KSL News Radio's new app, powered by the Utah Honda dealers.
It's the news you want when you want it, all in one place. To get it, text the word app to 57500 or search for it in the Apple and Android app stores.
Listen or watch KSL anytime you want. Get the top news when you want it. Get the latest traffic updates immediately. And listen to any KSL show live or on demand.
Get it now. Text the word app to 57500. You're going to love it.
KSL News Time, 5:59. Let's get you up to date on traffic with Ricky Meese.
Southbound I-15 delays between the I-80-201 interchange now down to about 106 south at the Southtown Mall. You only get a small break in the action before more heavy traffic approaching Bangerter Highway. Southbound I-215's eastbound heavy and slow between I-80 all the way down to 6200 south, and eastbound I-80 still a little bogged down as you're going between 7th East over to 2300 East. Eric Butler.
Freeway slowdowns in Utah County pretty much confined to Lehigh and American Fork on the southbound side. That's right as you go by 2100 north. Pretty quickly get back up to speed though. And on the northbound side, you hit the brakes as you move past Pioneer Crossing. By the time you get up to 2100 north, it's looking good. And the rest of the freeway is looking good in Utah County. Mark Jackson.
Well, after about half a dozen problems stretching from North Salt Lake up into Honeyville, traffic is easing a bit in Davis County northbound I-15. Going to be a little sluggish at the north interchange. Then the speeds are picking up, but you still have sluggish delays between basically prior to Shepherd Lane and up to Hillfield Road. Highway 89 is still a little heavy heading up into Fruit Heights, but 215 is all cleared out on the north end. Mark Jackson in the KSL Traffic Center.
And the forecast, mostly cloudy tonight, overnight low in the low 70s. Tomorrow, cloudy and warmer, highs in the upper 90s, and a chance for afternoon thunderstorms continuing.